Howdy, it's Matt, and in this video is a special treat for you because this is the video where I'll show you how to laminate a model, or in this case it's the Genesis flying wing, well, a wing which I'm sure many of you have been following along the build process with. Now, onto the topic of laminating. It's not hard, it's not complicated. Basically, if you can iron a shirt, you can iron on some laminate, and there's a great big roll of it here, onto your model. And in the beginning, I know it's a little bit daunting, but it really is just like ironing a shirt. There's a few little tips and tricks which I'm going to be sharing with you, and to make this just not a scary process at all. And also, just give a massive heads up, starting using laminating a flying wing is probably the easiest place for you to start, because it's not something like a mini talon which has got lots and lots of awkward shapes all over it. A wing is really straightforward. All you're going to do is lam the bottom, lam the top, and you've got a few little cuts around the outside and job's a good one. So if you've never laminated a model before, this is the video for you. And I've got a big set of notes here, so we're going to get straight in as quickly as we can. Now, talking of quickly, I have left my copper on the side. Now, while we're getting ourselves prepared, and I am going to go through this set of notes with you, which is very shortly, very simply, okay? Laminating is easy. Keep that in the back of your mind. It's nothing scary to do, and once you've done one model, they're all pretty much exactly the same. Now, the reasons why you should laminate a model, or at least consider laminating a model. And I feel this is important. Not every model should be laminated. If you've got 50 models, then you probably don't need to laminate them all. But there are some specific reasons why you would want to laminate a model. And those are, well, number one is that it's more of an aerodynamic surface. So here we've got an EPP model, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear that that's a rough surface. So a rough surface, just like in water, which air is, it's just a liquid, it's just a very thin liquid compared to water, is that it's going to cause drag. So if we put some of this lovely shiny film on top of here, is that this is super slippy, so we end up with a more aerodynamic model. Now, also a benefit of putting laminate on top of a model is because it helps the model become stronger, more durable, and it also makes the wing become more rigid, because basically what you've got is a film on the top side and then you've got a film on the bottom. So if the wingtip flexes, for example, and pulls up, maybe in a hard yank mover, you've gone to do a loop really hard, is that the wings could, or the wing could flex on you, whereas any force, like pulling force on the bottom, pulling this tip up, is stretching the film, and the film will resist that, and the same in reverse as well. So if you've got film on the top and the bottom, each time when it's getting pulled underneath tension, it's going to resist that tension, and you're going to end up with a stronger model. And of course, that also does mean when you go and stuff it in a bush, into the ground, into a tree, chances are your model's going to survive from that onslaught. So that's probably the reason why I laminate a lot of my models. So I'm going to put little ticks in there as we go along. Waterproof. It's here, we've just hit September here in the United Kingdom. We've got the winter on the way. That only means one thing: damp fields, rain, and also the farmer's going to go out and cover his field in poo to fertilise his fields. So that does mean that we are going to be able to have, the vast majority of the model is going to be waterproofed. So when we do land in a rainy field, then the chances are of our electronicals getting damaged due to the water are much less, and we're not going to be flying around with a soggy wing in this case. What else have I got on the list on there? Oh yeah, seals the paint in. Now, the laminate is clear, so at the moment you'll see that it's like semi-transparent, okay, but as you'll see, I've already got the iron here warmed up here on the side. What you will find, in fact, screw it, why don't I just show you? Why don't I just go and put a bit of heat on this corner, and I'm going to zoom right in so you can see what this is. Now, I will get onto the topic of what laminate I've got here and what the laminate is I suggest for you, but if I just quickly warm that up over my fingers. As you can tell, it's hot. Don't do that at home, children. But if you just warm it up on there, you'll see that it turns so that it's transparent. Now, laminate is typically transparent. Now obviously you can get coloured covering films, and that you obviously, like from HobbyKing and wherever else, is that you can get coloured laminating films. Personally speaking, besides the black and the chrome, I've not come across another decent laminate since. I've had white, and that's very tricky. I wouldn't suggest, excuse me, coloured laminate film to begin with, and the reason being is that clear laminate is much more forgiving to a novice compared to a colour laminate. So let me just grab a wing down here off the side. So this is the Team Legit FG36, one of the best lamination jobs I have done on a wing, except for that bit there. Don't look at that bit, we look at the wingtip instead. Is that one of the best lamination jobs which I've ever done on a wing. Absolutely pretty much flawless on there, and it's a super clean surface. Look at that. Now I'm going to let you into a little secret. This white laminate which I bought off Lamination Film, which I bought off HobbyKing, was an absolute toe rag to put on by itself. So what I actually did with this wing specifically, and I've done it with other wings now since, is that I put clear laminate on first, which allowed me to get a really good flat base down, and then I put the clear laminate on top. So I ended up with a double skin, and that's why I've ended up with just such a beautiful finish. And you can see the white light up there just in that corner, look, reflecting off there. Beautiful finish. So I wouldn't suggest using a coloured laminate film. The reason being is that number one, it's trickier, and number two, it's far more expensive as well compared to a roll of this. Now we will get to laminating film specifically, but my point being is that generally laminate is transparent. That also makes the paint or the colour which you've got on your model really pop out at you. Let me just grab another wing. Now this wing never comes out bright enough on the camera, but you're gonna have to take my word for it. That green is so bright and vibrant. It's a fluorescent green. The camera's having problems trying to represent the colour on it, but I can assure you it is super bright, and it's just been popped by the clear laminate on top. And again, this is what I'm expecting on this wing below, is that when I get some clear laminate on top, it's going to really make that colour pop out at you. It becomes so vibrant. So yeah, transparent, yeah, seals in the paint. Okay, of course this, again, I've just used some car spray paint on this, and again, it seals the final surface as well. Now, there's a big one here, which is that it does then make your model white clean. So if you're like me and you quite regularly fly in a field which has got cow pats in it, or other farmer like silage which they've put in, or other mucky stuff, or muddy fields, again with the winter coming as well, is that your models will get dirty. If you've got laminate on them, you just wipe them clean. It's that straightforward, you know. It really is wipe clean. So that, for me, that's a big benefit, because nobody really wants cow shit on their model. And of course, if it's covered in laminate, you just wet cloth and just wipe it off, or a bit toilet roll and just stick it in the bin. Job's a good one. And the last topic, which is highly sexist, it does give the job, the wife a job to do. Now you may be thinking, Matt, that's sexist, but to be honest, that is actually the reality. H, my partner, my wife for too many years, is actually extremely good at laminating models. Sounds daft, and she kind of enjoys it, to be honest, so I'm not arguing. And yeah, it does genuinely give the wife a job to do. Now, right, let's move on to the things which you need. So we've covered some of the reasons why you would want to laminate a model. Obviously this takes time. Okay, to laminate this model is going to take a period of time. It's not a quick job. I'm going to make it look easy, but remember, keep in the back of your mind, there was a time when I didn't know how to laminate a model, and I've made a lot of screw-ups. Well, to be honest, I haven't really made that many screw-ups, because it's really not that hard at all. So if you take your time, don't stress, don't panic. It is actually very easy. It's just like ironing a shirt. So keep that in the back of your mind. And laminating, for me, depends on the model, but generally speaking, especially for flying wings, it always makes sense to stick a layer of lam on top, because it just helps protect the model and makes it tougher, because chances are this one's going to go in a tree within the first 3 flights. So hey ho. Right, let's move on to the things which you need. The most important, actually, we're going to ignore the laminate for this, is that you need a craft knife. Okay, so I've got a little craft knife here. You can buy these off eBay, Amazon, Banggood, wherever else. And the most important thing which you need is a brand new blade. Do not skimp on the blade. You need a brand new blade. In fact, just before I pressed record on for this video, H was here in the office with me, and she was saying, Matt, joining your fresh blade in there, and because you can buy 100 of these for pennies, is that, yeah, please, and she got me a brand new blade. So do not skimp on a blade. This is like one of the most important tools which you have to laminate a model. Okay, so sharp knife. Now, when it comes to the laminate, now I'll put links in the video description to some search terms on eBay and Amazon. Again, it will be the UK site for you. But this laminate, the last lot which I bought, now, again, just for utter transparency, the first lot which we bought off eBay for £14 for 2 rolls. We think the seller made a big mistake with that one. So I actually only paid, well, actually I paid £5 and 4 servos for my first roll. And you can see how much is on there, something like 75 meters worth. And this is 75 micron, okay, or 3mm laminate. It's quite thick, but also very flexible as very, very flexible tool. You can get thicker stuff and you can get thinner stuff. Personally, I would not suggest any thinner than 3mm or 75 micron, which is how thick this laminate is, and I wouldn't suggest any thicker. A recent model, or 2 recent models which I've had here, I don't know what thickness it was on there, but the laminate which was provided was like hardboard, and we took the heating iron and we had it on full blast, and it was only just starting to tighten up then. So 75 micron is the stuff which I've used. I've already been through 1 roll of this. This is my second roll, and I've got a 3rd roll down there in the corner. So I do intend getting through a lot of laminate, and for me it's 75 micron or 3mm laminate all the way. Now this laminate does have 2 sides. It has a lovely shiny side, and then on the underside, I don't know if you can see that. In fact, why don't I zoom right in? There we go. So you'll see on one side it's lovely and shiny, and then on the underside it's dull, and it's the dull side which has got the glue on. Okay, so when you do put your heating iron on, don't put your heating iron on the dull side, and if you do it, you know exactly the reason why you shouldn't do that. So yeah, buy a big roll. Now we're chatting about price. The last lot which I bought was £42 off Amazon for 2 rolls, which was 150 meters worth of this. That's more than enough to last you a lifetime. In fact, you will probably want to sell your roll, your other roll, to a flying buddy. Also, don't be afraid to ask the seller if they will sell you a single roll as well. That's perfectly possible too. That's not an unreasonable request. So yeah, think about 20 quid-ish, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less per roll, and a roll will last you a very long time. A roll for me lasted me 6 months. Now, if you consider how many models of wings I get through, that is actually probably about 3 years worth for a normal RC pilot. So that's the 2 major ones, a really sharp blade and the laminates, and again I'll put the details in the video description. And the other thing is that you need is a heating iron of some form. Now you can buy these modelling ones. This one's a Turnigy one, which I've bought off HobbyKing. You can buy these off HobbyKing, you can buy them off Banggood. They all come with different brands, but basically all they do is just change the little sticky label here. They are all exactly the same thing. Now, big point on here is that you always start off with either medium or just below medium heat. Never crank it up to full and never touch it because it gets so hot. They also, when it's brand new, you will get a sock which comes with it as well. You'll quickly wear your way through that sock. That's no biggie. You'll just learn to deal with any sticky bits. And what you can do, obviously if it's not on full blast, is that if you've got a bit of sticky on there, just rub it in your leg and then it'll just wipe off the stickiness. So you will need a heating iron. If you're absolutely skint, you can use a normal household iron, but don't forget that thing is like 3 times the size of the surface area. It's going to be very awkward to get into the tiny little areas as well. I've never tried a full-size iron because it's just too big and it would be just too cumbersome. I've got 2 of these little ones and they're absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'd strongly suggest if you're going to be laminating models more frequently, buy yourself an iron. They're not expensive, but you can, if push comes to shove, you can use a normal, just household iron, if that makes sense. Just make sure the temperature is down or low and then work your way up as needed. Now, one thing which I didn't actually put in this list is, let me just tick on there, you will need a clean desk. So wipe off your desk of any bits of fluff kicking around. Again, I'm just going to quickly do mine out. Blow the dust off and any lumps kicking around. Also the model too, make sure your model is clean as well. Now, I've seen people suggest that with EPP foam you should sand the foam first, which to be honest isn't going to do any harm, but to be honest for me, because I've put a layer of spray paint down on this one, I know that it's just going to stick and it's just going to weld itself to the paint. Another thing to look out for is any lumps which you've got on your actual model itself, and also make sure that your model is pretty much prepared. So you'll see that I've got the GPS unit in here, I've got the servo already mounted in. Okay, so make sure all your parts and bays are already pre-cut. Everything which you need is on the wing is already on the wing. And again, I'm just going to quickly check the bottom. So again, something which I just recently did this morning is put that bottom plate in. You'll see that over on this side, I've got the receiver already bedded in. The antennas are poking out, that's fine. Didn't want them embedded in the foam, I just want them just underneath the plastic. And there's no big lumps on here. Again, just checking it over with my hand, nothing sharp or anything like that. And we are ready to go. And again, I've already put some spray paint on there too. Oh, massive tip for you. Something which I do to make sure that I get super clean lines on any artwork which I put on mine is that if you spray your wing white first, it does mean that any artwork which goes on the bottom of a wing or a model does stand out, really, really pop out against the foam in the background. Now, I do have, before we go on, and we will laminate this wing in a moment, I do have a couple of things here just to note. Temperature. If you are in any doubt and you're a complete novice, put this down to low or around to 9 o'clock on here, so it's halfway between low and medium, and that's a good temperature for you to start from. I've worked with this laminate before. I know this laminate specifically, it may be different for yours, so I'm going to start mine just below medium. That's a good temperature for this laminate which I have here on the desk. That may be different to yours, so if you're in any doubt, start really quite low and then work your way up round to medium. Never higher than medium in the heat, okay? You only go crank it up to hot once your model's been completely laminated and you're going for a really good the final once over before you declare your model as being laminated. So mine's always around on medium. The other daft thing is don't freaking touch the iron. It is bastard hot and I've had burns off this one before, so do go careful with the iron. It's not, again, if you've got a little one who's giving you a hand, parental supervision. These things get hot, and also don't leave it, make sure they come with a little stand and stuff like that. Don't leave it on the carpet, it will melt the carpet. Don't leave it next to your roll of laminate because it will melt that and ruin a whole roll. Yeah. And make sure you unplug it once you've been and done as well. Bit of a fire risk and just a straightforward safety risk for those. We're here chatting about EPP foam. If your model is EPO foam, so let me go and grab an EPO model. That's EPO. I'll show you this one. So this isn't a model which I personally laminate, but this is EPO foam. It's just a white foam. I'll move that up to the camera. I'm sure you've come across that before. That's EPO foam. Now the note with EPO foam is go really careful with the temperature, because if you put that iron down for too long, okay, on EPO foam, it will bubble and it doesn't look very attractive. EPP foam is pretty damn robust and it can take quite high temperatures and it won't bubble. In fact, if anything, it will melt, which gives an even better finish. But on EPO foam, that white EPO foam, which most normal models, molded models are made out of, is that do go careful with the temperature again. Medium or less, and don't hold that iron in one place. Your iron should always be moving. So what else we got on there? Now, do expect, okay, this is again, there's some warnings to come with this. Do expect a little bit of warping. So the way which I approach models and flying wings specifically, well, pretty much any model, is that we always work from the back of the model towards the front. Now the reason for that is to do with the seam. So there's the film, and it's really, really thin, so I can't show you that on the camera, but if you use my hands for that, is that if we put my hands like so, okay, is that this is one layer of film and this is another layer of film, and you can see that there's this edge down here, and this is the reason why we work from the back of the model towards the front, because if we work at the back and then we have a join, say here, which we wouldn't for any sensible reason, say we've got a join here, is that then if we then put the next sheet on and over that, is that that edge, okay, there's no water or mud which is going to go in there, whereas that if we had a piece of laminate coming around the front and then we put another piece going from the back towards the front, is that that would sit on top of it, and then mud and dirt and crap and poo can get underneath that seam. So we always work, it doesn't matter if it's a flying wing or a bigger, like a normal fixed wing model, we always start at the back of the model and then work to the front, okay? Also, we again, from my experience, we also work from the bottom of the model to the top, okay? And the reason why we start at the bottom of the model and work to the top is because once we've done the bottom of the model, we're in the swing of things, okay? We've pretty much got all the little trimming and stuff, and we've warmed up. So then when we do the top of the model, is that if we're going to make any screw-ups, we've probably already made them, and we're a little bit more proficient, we're all warmed up, and the top of the wing, which is the bit which everybody else, well, you and everybody else sees, is going to look pucker. Okay, so that's the basic reason. Now, there is a little bit of a warning, which is that when you do put laminate on the bottom of a wing, especially a model which doesn't have much internal support, and as you can tell, there's a lot of carbon fibre in this one, so it's not likely to happen to this one, but it will happen a little bit, it just won't be very noticeable, is that when we put laminate on here, it will cause the wing or the part to warp a little bit, okay? That is to be expected, but don't panic, because you're only going to put the laminate down with medium heat to begin with, and then when you put the piece on the top, any warping which has gone that way is then going to go this way, and it will straighten itself back out, okay? And then also, again, it will only be minute, okay, but just be aware of that, it will happen, but by the time you've put a layer on the top, it should straighten itself back out, and of course, if you've got any bend which is left in it, go to the opposite side and then put more heat on the laminate will shrink a little bit, and it will pull it back straight again. So just go a little bit, just be aware of that, and not to panic if you do see some warping in a wing. That's perfectly to be expected. And don't forget, when you put a layer on the top, is that you'll also put the top layer down on medium heat, and then you can use high heat to straighten it back out if you need to. But that's only real with basically flimsy models, but you need to be aware of that. Also, I've put on there is only ever use full heat at the end. Once the model is being completely laminated, is then and only then do you crank this bad boy up to full knacker, okay? And that's only for EPP foam, not for EPO foam. For God's sake, don't put full heat on EPO foam, that white foam which we saw a minute ago. Models like the Micro Sky Hunter, the Mini Talon, the Nano Talon, the FX61, the Phoenix 2000, the XUAV Clouds, this Z81, the F22, and Rare Bear, models which are made out of EPO foam. For God's sake, don't put high heat on those. It will just bubble and look really horrible. But I'm only talking about EPP foam, which are like wire cut wings, for example. And you can crank this up to full knacker and then really get a real glossy finish out on it. But on EPO models or EPO foam, you don't do that. You only ever need medium, and that's going to be perfectly fine. Now, that's it. Oh, the last tip, and we will get laminating now, is that cut too big, okay? You have, hopefully, a roll which is 75 meters long, okay? The price of this piece, like going a couple of inches bigger, is like indiscriminate. It's just not. My point being is that you have lots and lots of film. Overcut, make your cuts too big, okay? So when you iron this up, and in fact, why don't we get ready and we'll start doing one of these wings right excuse me, right now. And I am just going to pause for a quick slurp of the black gold, is that there's the bottom of the wing, okay, and I am going to overcut this. I'm going to make the film too long because we can cut back, but it's a pain in the ass to add later because then we end up with a seam. So don't skimp on the film. Remember, it costs you peanuts in the scheme of things, because we're only going to use like a few meters on here. And there we go. So you'll see that I've got it rolled over, and I'll zoom in on it in a moment, but I'm just going to pull that right out over here, and I'm a good 3, maybe 4 inches worth extra on the end. So again, I'm not using a ruler, I'm just getting in there with a knife. There we go. I'm going to get that rolled up out of the way, and you will now see that I've completely overdone it on that side, which you can see there, and on this side we put it round, okay, is that we've gone too far as well, and that's absolutely fantastic. Now when it comes to a flying wing, what I like to do is that with the leading edge, okay, like there, I like to wrap the leading edge around by 1 inch, okay, so that is my point of reference along that edge. I'm also going to cover over that nose there, and also we are definitely hanging off the wingtip down that end as well. Happy days. But the idea of this is that that laminate is going to go round onto the other side, so this leading edge is then sealed, and then when we do the top, we are also going to do the top round by ½ inch and have the seam coming over the top and onto the bottom, so no dirt can get in that from that direction. So when we come into land, the dirt's going this way and it won't get into that seam, and that then means that this leading edge then has 2 layers of laminate over the leading edge, which is fantastic because that is where you need the most protection on the leading edge of your wing, because that's the one which is going to hit the straw, it's going to hit branches, it's going to hit your tree and thick grass. Excuse me. Right. The other thing which I need to point out is that normally what you do is any features first. Now, to be honest, this wing is pretty much featureless. The only thing which we need to do separately in a minute is the motor mount, which is on the top. Now if we were doing a different model, let me just go and see if I can grab one which I've previously laminated, and again I'm doing my best to give you like as many examples as I can. That's why we've only just got to the laminating right now, maybe 10-15 minutes later on, because I know this is a topic which many of you maybe a little bit scared of or think it's complicated, but honestly it's not. So this is the this is the mini talon, okay. Excuse me, as you know, we'll leave all edits in. We've got a V-tail area here. Now think about what I mentioned earlier, is I actually did the bottom first. So I did the bottom tail area first, okay, like so. I did this thin piece as one piece only, okay. If you break it down into sections, it's actually really straightforward, but remember, you work from the back of the model to the front. So this thin piece here I did first, then I did the sides and then the bottom, and then I went up and did the fins on the from the bottom first, and then I went on and did the rest of the fuselage, working our way up through, and then, and only then, did I do the top. So I did this fin, then I did that fin, and again wrapping around the edges, and then I did this middle section, and then slowly worked forwards, okay. Any oddities or any strange bits on your model, you do those first. Now one bit which is a bit awkward for me to show, I can show you that piece there, very awkward piece, as you can see, very complex structure. Use little smaller pieces and do that piece like kind of first before trying to cover the rest of the bottom of the wing, so then you know you've got that awkward piece being uncovered. And this model has been, it's had, I don't know, conservatively, I will say 70 flights, something like that. Can you see how much muck and poo we've got on this one? And I've landed in horrible, horrible conditions, in muddy fields, wet fields and stuff like that. And it's still, well, it still kind of looks like new. The only thing which has gone a little bit yellow is the glass fibre tape which I used underneath the laminate. So yeah, laminating, happy days. It does work, and again, there's many different reasons. One of them is to keep your models clean. Another major one is for strength. So, right, let's move on. So you'll see that I'm just lining up about an inch over the leading edge, trying to keep that straight. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay, long as it roughly, and again, I'm not getting the ruler out and measuring this, I'm just going, that looks about right. Then I'm going to put my hand on it, okay, that's important because we want that laminate to stay still. We take our laminate, and again, I've got it on medium heat, okay, which may be too hot, okay, we don't know. That's why I was suggesting turn yours down to low, and you know if you've got it right or not, because all I'm going to do, and you'll see that the action which I'm doing here is circular, okay, and I'm keeping the iron moving all the time. I'm not going crazy, I'm not doing big pieces. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on. And I'm just going steady. I've got this on a nice flat surface. Now, a big tip for you, if you've got an awkward model which is rocking all over the place, go and get a cushion off your sofa or your settee and then sit the model of the part on that cushion, because then the cushion will dampen some of the movements for you. Okay, so let's get ourselves zoomed back in again. And you'll see that I'm just using small circles, okay, and I'm working my way out, okay, like so. Now you will get air bubbles from time to time. Don't panic if you get an air bubble. If you do follow what I'm showing you here, you'll rarely get an air bubble, but if you do get an air bubble, don't panic, just get the knife, stab the air bubble, and then go back over with the iron again. So there we go. Okay, and you notice I'm going out to the edge, but I'm not going over the edge because we'll do the edge in one fell swoop. Okay, so there we go. I'm just working my way around. I'm going to zoom out a bit more now. One day I'll get used to that zoom. Alright, and there we go. And you'll see that I'm just slowly working it round. And I've only done, well, I'm making good progress, to be honest. I'm quite happy with the progress so far. And again, holding my hand to one side and pulling it tight on there, just to make sure that we get a nice finish. And again, it's already going like glass. I don't know, can you see how reflective that section? No, you can't. Look how reflective that is gone already. Looks pretty damn good. And again, we've only got white spray paint on the bottom of here. Imagine if it was the red, which is on the top, okay? And now I'm slowly working my way across on top of this core flute. And again, I have overlapped this centre section by a fair amount, and the reason for that is because it's normally the main part, like the nose middle part of the fuselage of a flying wing, which does get the most amount of grief. Or abuse, should I say, from landings and so on and so forth. Now I do have a piece here which I'm just working my way round, and again, hopefully it sticks okay. And what I do actually need to do is, because the film will stretch but not that much, what I'm actually going to quickly do is just put a knife cut down the top of those two pieces of wood, so that it does give the film some ability to stretch, which it has been now been done. Like so. I'm just going to get in there with a knife. Again, this is why you want a small iron, because it is a bit awkward to get in there with the iron. And let's work our way round. Really straightforward, okay? And you'll notice that all the time the iron is moving. Okay, I'm not pausing. Now this plastic PLA nose cone on the top, I want the film to stick around it, but I will cut it back out with a knife later. Okay. So let's get in there, like so. Again, I'm just going to go across it. Now, another little note for you: hot soldering iron onto the foam or the EPP, that it will melt the paint. So I'm stopping just shy of the edge, and the reason why I'm stopping just shy of the edge, otherwise we'll end up with white paint on the bottom of here, or on the top it'll be red paint. And of course, we pick up the red paint, and the final finish won't look that good. And then I'll have to go and get the spray can out, and we'll have to pause and whatnot. So it has been a little bit bubbly down here, but I'm not that worried at the moment, because I know that I'm going to come back over this with a high heat at the end. So we've got the bulk of that middle section done. So let's work out here onto the wingtips. Now I do know that I need to support this wing underneath. I'm going to put my hand underneath. Again, circular motion, and you can hear it sticking down. There we go, nice and straightforward. Okay, that's better now. Right, so now we can get into the rest of the wing. Circular motion, we'll get over the receiver now. Little tip for you for the receiver: if you want to make it easier for it to come off, put 2 layers of sellotape on top of the receiver, so it does well, if you do take the receiver back out later, it will still look nice. Let's get out onto this wingtip. So, in fact, I need to turn this one up because it has lost some of its heat. It's not sticking as well as it was. And sure. Okay, and of course, if you were here and you're rubbing it like this for like 5 minutes and it's still not gone transparent and it's not sticking, do turn your temperature up a little bit. And of course, if you followed my suggestion earlier, where I was suggesting that you start on a low to medium heat, is that's exactly what will happen, is that you'll start here and you'll start rubbing it around on the model and you'll go, Matt, it's not sticking. So just turn it up a bit and give it time, obviously time to heat up. Okay, and go careful, if you've left this iron on the side for 10 minutes, it's going to be corking hot. So yeah, just be aware of that. It may start off fine, but after the more and more you use it, is that you may notice, like I just did a few moments ago, is that it was losing its tack. Okay, so we're making a pretty good job here. So I am just going to run it up to that leading edge, but not over. I'm trying not to melt the glue on the very front edge. There we go. Right, brilliant. So what I'm going to do on the front is exactly also is the same on the back. We've got some trimming up to do. So this is where your sharp knife kicks in. Let's go and get ourselves zoomed in. Now we need to make sure that we cut off enough to be able to get around the edges. Now what I'm going to do is, in that corner, one cut. There's also a corner there, is another cut. Brilliant. Now obviously we've got far too much hanging over this rear edge, so all I'm going to do, I'm going to come out maybe about an inch. I'm just going to run my finger all the way along, and you could use a pair of scissors if you find that easier to use. There we go. I'm going to roll that all the way up the edge, and then we got a bit of spare. Now keep the bigger bits of the pieces which you cut off, because sometimes you'll end up needing that little extra bit as well. So yeah, don't lob that in the bin. And then when it comes to this leading edge, again, I'm just going to save about an inch, same kind of angle, and that's been taken off. I'll put that to one side. When it comes to the corner, this corner is a bit awkward because the foam, I've knocked the bit of the corner off. That's alright, it happens to the best of us. So right, let's move around. Now let's go and start with potentially a more complicated piece, which is this back. Again, I want to make sure that you can see everything which I'm doing here. I'm just going to tidy up that edge there. So I'm just going to straighten that piece out. So we've got one piece which will now wrap around the back, like so. So there we go. So I'm going to just get some temperature up on this. Okay, wrap this round the back. And I'm not going right round on the front yet, and I'll show you why I'm not going round on the front just yet. And this is why you need a sharp knife. And this isn't coming out very well for you. Again, it's a little bit tricky because I don't want to fuck up this model, but I also want you to learn from it at the same time. So I'm going to come off about an inch in this side, in line with the angle on the back. So that's the cut which I've now got. Again, let me zoom in. There you go. So you'll see that I've put some heat on the back. Okay, now I'm going to use the iron just to bend it over onto the top. Okay, I'm going careful not to put the iron on the red paint itself, but it is starting to stick down, and I don't know if you can see how beautiful that red is really starting to pop out there. And again, no, this camera's just not doing it justice. It is such a deep red which has come out. It is way superior colour on this side of the foam. Yeah, that camera's not doing it any justice at all. It must be down to the lighting. But that, you're going to have to take my word for it, that red is delicious. It's like the most delicious red apple. That would get snow white every single time. This side looks dull in comparison. So yeah, mighty impressed with that. And again, one day I'll get this zoom sorted. There we go. So yeah, there's one piece in there. Now let's go and get the next angle. So again, hold the wing up. I'm just going to bend that piece over. And those smarter ones out there will know that in that corner there's a V which has been left. Okay, in fact, let me just show you this on the camera. Okay, I'll leave all my mistakes in. Okay, there is a V in that corner which is now, it's bare foam in that corner. That's why we're saying keep those spares afterwards, because you may spot little spots like that where it needs you to come back and cover it, because just by the normal process of putting laminate on a wing, again cutting an inch away from the edge, is that you will end up with those funny little spots. So I'm just pulling that in tight. Wow, that's worked out beautifully. I do like the red, and that camera is not doing that red any justice. It looks absolutely delicious. It's like the reddest apple which you've ever come across. Right, onto the rear edge. Now this one's pretty straightforward, but it may be a little bit complicated. If you've got a really long edge and you're struggling with this, I'm going to make a point. You don't need to struggle trying to do one big long edge at one time. What you can do is get your craft knife and then put a cut in it. Okay, so I now only have to worry about, you now only have to worry about half of doing this surface. Okay, the more experience you get, you'll just go way up along there with the heat iron, and it's dead easy. But I appreciate that you may have not done this before, so if you've got any really big long pieces which you need to do, like on the edge, just put a little cut in it, nobody will notice, and yeah, that's the way which I do mine. So I'm just going to, again, it's a bit awkward because I'm here trying to do it the way which I would normally do, and it's just stand it up on the desk. So right, I'm just going to heat up along that back rear edge, up to the place where I cut, like so. Now I'm doing the top edge, okay, which is the very back of the rear edge of the wing. Now I'm going to fold it down. Again, I'm just using my fingers just to help it over the edge, and I'm trying to heat up the rear edge first. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on. There we go, just doing that rear edge first, like so. Then slowly working up, trying not to put the iron on the red paint because it'll come out cack, and you'll see how precise I've been there. Can you see the glue has not melted on that edge? That's because I've got the iron on an angle, because I don't want the iron to touch the red paint. If I touch the red paint, it'll show the white paint which I put underneath, and it won't look very good. So and of course when you come back over and you put the top layer on, is that it'll melt those pieces and nobody will know. Okay, so let's go and do this end part of the wing, same process, and you'll see now why I was saying if you've got a long piece, don't panic, just cut it in half, and then you can do it in two pieces, and it makes things a lot more enjoyable to do, in short. So there we go, we've done that piece. Again, fingers are in there just to pull it over the edge. And of course, when we put the top layer down, we'll go round, but we'll cut it just shy of the bottom. So that cut which we made won't actually let any water in. And again, it's extremely unlikely we would ever get any water in the back of a model. It's always the leading edge. And as we learnt a few moments ago, is that we will be double skinning the front leading edge on our wing anyway. So that won't really be a concern. So we've got the wingtip now to do. Now, again, I want to make sure that you can see all the cuts which I'm doing, okay? So there's, I don't know if you can see this, this is now getting wrapped around. There's this little cap underneath there which I can get my finger in. What I'm actually going to do is just get the knife in there and poke that out the way, and then I'm going to focus on this side piece here. Now, it's a little bit awkward because we're missing the wingtip. That was my fault. I broke it off when I put it up to dry. So I'm just going to cut that up out of the way. Now, we do have the end of the cord of the wing, and it does go round an angle. Now, the way which you cope with angles, remember that mini talent which we had a few moments ago, all the way around the edge of that V-tail, okay, is that all you do is you just put relief cuts in there. So that all, and we're back. Right, apologies for that. The memory card filled up in the camera. That's going to be an absolute ball bag, so that what that means is that I'm going to have to take the two video files, put them into a video editor, mash them together, and then it's going to take like an hour or more to render the video. So if you are enjoying this video on how to laminate a wing, this is the first time you've seen anybody doing anything like this and you're finding it helpful, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up, because it is going to be a pain in the ass to get this one out on YouTube. So where were we? We were up here on the wingtip, in short. So as I mentioned, we just get the knife and we make any angles which we need to go around, you just put slits in it. And again, you can put more slits, you can put less slits, whatever kind of makes sense. So I've just been to put two in there, and I'm going to start from the back of the wing, and work towards the front. And the reason why we're doing that, it's not really that important here on the wingtips, to be honest, because we're going to have a fin stuck on the side. But generally good practice, we always start at the back of the wing and work our way forward so that any seams which we've got are not going to get filled up with poo and dirt and mud and whatever else. So there we go, we've got that on there. Now I am just going to poke those little bits there over. Again, especially considering that corner back there is a bit vacant. So I'm just going to pretend that piece is there for now, and I don't know if I'm going to stick a bit of epoxy or something in that little tube at the end, but hey ho, you shouldn't have that on yours. Now, onto that leading edge, which is the front edge of this wing. Now this one I am going to do in one big go, but of course you could put a cut in it if it makes it easier for you. Mine's really straightforward. All we're going to do, we're just going to rub this iron, and you'll notice that I'm working all the way along the edge. Again, just using my fingers here just to pull it tight around, and I'm not going to go straight over or all the way over. I am just working my way up. Let's make sure we can zoom out as much as we can. It's about the best I can do. It's a bit of an awkward model to do. Again, just leaning over that front edge. Okay, like so. Now I've just got up to that nose area. I am just going to put a quick slit in there. There we go, like so. And I'm just going to start bending this over. I'm not going for the full Monty just yet. I'm just trying to get it to angle over this edge and make a really, really good seal on this front leading edge, because it's this front leading edge which is going to get the most amount of abuse. Brilliant, I think that's worked out alright. So let's get ourselves zoomed back in again, and this is where a cushion would come in really handy. I've just wandered off to grab a cushion off the side because it's a bit awkward here on the flat desk, especially to show you. So let me zoom out a touch. All I've done is just grabbed a cushion off the sofa, and it just makes it a bit easier for me to point this nose up at me and still have a bit of support, because I can push this cushion around and I've got a nice angle on here now. So I've just got this sorted out on here, and it's fighting me a little bit. And again, it doesn't matter with this cushion, if we iron it, it's just going to make it smell nice from the washing detergent which was used. Right, there we go. Because we've got that front edge sorted, in fact let me zoom right in so you can see what's going on. There we go. See? Again, I'm just trying to keep away from that very front edge, and I think I'm rocking the camera at the same time, apologies. It's just hitting the stand there on the background. And again, I'm not trying to do on that bit there, I'm just trying to do this front piece here, and I can trim up any little awkward pieces like that afterwards. Like so. So I'm going to come down this one, and again I've done the hard bit, which is the very leading edge. There we go. Like so. Again, just working my way down. Again, we did the hardest piece, which was folding it over, and we must have come in about quarter of an inch over the leading edge, which is holding the film down now. There we go, this is going sweet as a nut. Brilliant. And you notice that I'm here again, like I said right back at the beginning, we keep the iron moving at all times, because that's what we're doing. We don't want to just hold it in one place, because it will just go through and it'll melt the foam underneath you. It will get too hot, and of course you can go back over the top afterwards with full heat later. And that end piece, I'm just going to fold that down and around, and happy days, there we go. That was 1/4, believe it or not, of a wing done. Now, I do know that we've been here chatting for a while, we had a lot to cover, and I've gone step by step all the way through this wing itself as I've gone along, and that is it, okay? Once you've got one piece down, the opposite side, so I'm going to turn this round, okay? This side is just as easy as the other side, and we can blitz through it. Then we get onto the top. So what I'm going to do well, actually you're here. I'm just going to quickly do the opposite side. It doesn't take very long at all, but what I will do is that I'm just going to fast forward it through this next section. But before we do that, just want to make sure I've got this side, it's been stuck down really, really well. trying to keep the, I'm going to cut off too much. Remember, that's what I was saying about the film. Film is cheap, especially when you've got 75 meters of it, and we're going to use, I don't know, 4 meters on here. It ain't a lot, is it? So we cut far too much film. You can, again, if you cut off too much, you've got a bit left over, you can maybe use it on a smaller one or do some little bits later. You will have wastage, that's for sure. And again, this side is really straightforward. Again, leaning it over by about 1 inch, trying to keep it level. And there we go, I am going to let it run over that way. What I will do with this piece here, once I've got it down, is that I will put a metal ruler on it and cut this edge off square. Okay, so it's square going backwards, or maybe even an incline going back in that way, because I don't want any dirt to get in those edges. And I won't put extra laminate up around on this wooden piece at the back, only on that piece there, and I'll just cut around this edge very carefully with the craft knife on there. And anyway, that's enough of the babbling. Let's get on and get going. I'll tell you what, I was going to speed this up, but now that you've been and seen it once, you're going to kind of see the speed which you can go at. Now I'm going to crank this up because I am going faster, because I want more heat to go down on this wing. And this is what, and again, I don't suggest you do this when you're first starting out, but like I said, I've done a couple of them now. I'm used to any screw ups, and again, my model, if I fuck it up, it's my own fault, isn't it? Whereas yours, do take your time, in short. And yeah, you would be absolutely surprised how much durable laminating a wing does. Now, it's obviously not required for every single model. There are some models which just frankly don't need it, and would be also frankly a waste of time to do it on them. But other models, like definitely an EPP flying wing, is that, yeah, it will for sure make a difference. Okay, it will make it fly faster. Yes, it does add a few grams to the overall weight of it, but the other things I think for you, those of you which have seen EPP race wings, is that they'll all be laminated, because people know, the pilots know, that it makes it tougher. The model will stand a chance of surviving, and it also makes it faster. It makes it more rigid, makes it more responsive model as well. So I'm just being quite forceful on this. There's a patch which hasn't gone down very well, and it's like a mini workout, to be honest. I'm working up a sweat here. There we go. Let's do around that edge. Right, now I did mention about getting a ruler out, which is just down here. I'm just going to straighten this side up. I am going to do this on a slight angle, so I'm doing it on a slight diagonal away from the nose. And the reason for that is just purely I don't want a cut down the side. I'm just going to go very careful, just drag it across. Brilliant. There we go. Just cut that. Again, you can always rough cut it out. And right, let's get going in here. Yeah. I've got to be quite forceful on this centre section, because I know there's 2 layers of lam on this now, and I want to make sure that it really does get a good stick. It really does get glued down well. Just cutting that leading edge. We'll get doubled up on that. We'll end up getting trebled up on that leading edge, which, to be honest, on the very nose area, is probably where it needs it most, because that's where it's going to take the most amount of abuse. Every single landing, that's going to go in the ground. And right, let's get this going. Get in around here, and you'll see that I'm doing this, and this is going to end up getting done in a fraction of the time of the other side. And remember, I will end up coming back over this with a really high heat, just to tidy this up at the end. So again, just going to cut on top of that, those 2 oddities which we've got on here. Just going to get the iron in there, get that edge down really well too, poke that in and around. Again, this middle bit's a right wrong pain in the arse, and there will be some bits, and again, this is why we were chatting about the craft iron, this hobbyist iron. It does make little pieces like that an awful lot easier. There we go. And by the way, if you're an experienced laminator, and you've done many models before, do share any tips which you have down in the comments section underneath this video. I'd love to hear from you. And I've just screwed up that bit. Balls. Right, I've just cut that over too far. So what I'm going to do is just put plaster over it. So I've just cut that short. There we go. No biggie. Right, I need to make sure that that's stuck down in that edge. And just like before, bend that out again. Let's turn the spring round. It's a little bit awkward because I've got the power bend, the extension lead up on that side of the table, so I can't. It's a bit awkward to get this in the camera shot in one go. So again, remember, like I said, just an inch overlap. If in doubt, cut it too big. You can always cut off a bit more. It's more difficult to stick a bit back on. There we go. Let's get in here. Right. Let's do that. Got a patch there. Whoa. Tell how slippy it is. It was sliding on the desk then, whereas before it didn't do that when we did the first side. But the piece where we've already laminated, it was wanting to slide on the desk, which is always a good sign. And again, I'm just trying to get a straight edge on the back. And don't worry about your seams too much. They once you put the top layer on top, nobody notices, and all the crap joints will then be up underneath. Now, can you also remember what I said back at the beginning as well? Is that always do the bottom first, and the reason why you do your bottom first is because you use the bottom as a warm-up. So when you get around to doing the top, you are going to be an absolute pro at laminating, because it only takes 1 or 2 models, and you've got the swing of things, especially around the corners. You get the swing of things, and if you haven't done one for a while, again, start from the bottom, work your way up, and then you get all your apprentice marks out of the way, and jobs are good in. So unlike before, where we put a cut in this, I'm going to do this one all in one go. Just going to bend, hold that up, just going, fingers are away from the iron, like so. Brilliant, just going to fold that over the edge, get this down. And I was going to fast forward this, but screw it. Just want to show you the kind of pace which you can work at, especially, again, this iron's a little bit hotter. I've gone up to medium and a quarter on there, so maybe 2 o'clock, or is it 1, 2? Yeah, about 2 o'clock on the dial. Again, doing my best to keep away from the red paint on the end. Right, let's get round to this wingtip. Again, always working from the back of the model to the front. Right, we're going to have some excess there, that's fine. Right, we need some cuts in here, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So I'm just bending that up. Get that in there. Like so. Outstanding. Again, I can't stress this enough. Work from the back of the model to the front. We don't want any seams which are forward facing because dirt will get in those over a period of time. And ruin potentially the look and the feel of your model. So, right, again, I could have trimmed that bit off, but I'm not. It kind of made sense just to wrap it over the edge, and it really does make the colour pop on the back as well. Just going to tidy up that rear edge. Now we're on to the leading edge again, so just like before, taking my time, I'm going to work my way all the way down the leading edge. Okay, moving that iron at all times on there, leading edge, slowly working it over the edge. I'm not going for the full Monty. It's just like chatting up a woman. You don't ask her for whatever straight away. You have to date it a little bit. There we go. That's a really bad metaphor, but you kind of know what I mean. We're just easing it over the front edge, and that's in there now. So we can get this around. In fact, I'm going to have to bring this slightly off camera so I can get up on this edge. Again, I'm not holding back on the speed front. I've got the iron up pretty hot, and it means that I can move much faster. And again, if you're a novice, don't do this. Take your time. There is no rush to do this. I'm just putting the pace on because I'd like to show you at least 1/2 of the top area, which we are now there. Now I do have a few pieces which are hanging over, so I am just going to tidy that up a moment. Got a piece around this front nose cone which I need to tidy up. There we go. And I'm just going to tidy up this nose area now with the knife, which you may or may not be able to see up there on the camera. And tidy that edge up. The same in here. And remember, laminate will shrink a little bit, especially when you go and put lots and lots of heat on it. That is to be expected. So if you're unsure, just cut it a little bit bigger and you really can't go wrong. So I've got that on there. Right, we are good for the top now. And you see it's come undone from the piece which I did before. There was a patch on the first bit which we did, which it came undone, and that's to be expected. What I'll do at the very end is put this onto full heat, crank that ring onto full hot, and then I will just work over inch by inch, just like this, all the way through once that's on super hot. And again, you only do that on EPP foam, not on EPO foam, and excuse me, and that will tighten it all up. Right, top piece now. Doesn't matter which side you work on, to be brutally honest, but it does matter because we have a feature which we need to do, and there's an offcut which we've got here. Let's go and zoom in. We have a feature which we need to cover. Now, I did notice when I was doing the underside that this laminate really didn't stick to that wood very well. So we're in one of these 50-50 decisions at the moment. Do we just laminate the centre section and end up with a bit of wood either side, or do we just try and go full Monty and do the whole lot? To be honest, I think I'm going to go full Monty and do the lot. Now, you could just work up the side. It's up to you, in short. You could just laminate that side piece first, and then, in fact, that's probably not a bad way of doing it. If you laminate that side piece first, so I'm just going to rough this out. So maybe I'll put the ruler in there, like so. Put the ruler in there. Use something to hold it down. I'm looking for something to hold it down with. Pot of drills. There we go. So you could, some pieces you will just be able to go straight over the top and do it in one piece. This one, I'm going to break it into pieces because I think it's probably a better example to show you. There we go. So yeah, I need to make that a bit bigger. It's alright to sometimes say that, oops, I made a mistake, and again, keep your bigger offcuts, because that means that you've got spare pieces. So what I'm going to do on this one is do it like so. Which I hope that's coming out of the camera. Just going to poke the iron in there. There we go. Right in the corner, right in the crease. Get up on that piece of wood. Make sure it's really stuck to that piece of wood, which it has done. Right, I need to put a little cut in here because we need to get this piece over. And again, just going to straighten this and again, make sure we zoom right in so you can see what's going on here. I'm just going to, whereas we did like an inch cut around the outside, we've just done a maybe 1/4 of an inch cut there. Again, it's on an angle, so I've done lots of smaller cuts. Now, to be honest, this piece, yeah, that's why you don't put the iron on paint, because it's bloody pulled the paint off. Arse. Right, let's get these pieces around. That's one of the other dangers with a hotter iron, is that if you have spray painted your model, it will pick the paint off almost immediately. Right, let's tidy up this back piece, and again, I'm not going to wrap it around the back, just going to put a cut in that corner, just there, and poke that bit down. That's sealed. Do the inner edge, and hope that's coming out on the camera. Job is a good one. So I now need to repeat that for the opposite side. So there we go. Hope this is going to come out okay. Yeah, it should be fine. There we go. Put that in there. Again, just jabbing right in that corner to make sure it sticks right in the corner, letting the lamb go right up to wherever it wants to go. Obviously I've cut that one too long. It's too late, it is what it is, isn't it? And I'm just going to cut that round flat. Need to get in that corner like so. I'm going to straighten that out around there, and let's get the iron on this edge on there. Pick the bits off the iron. Just going to hold the iron on the side of this wood to make sure it really has stuck, which it has. Let's get that piece down while we're at it. There we go. And one thing you should notice, you will end up twisting up your your heating iron cord as well. Just had to untangle mine, and I'll tell you what, while I'm here, I'm just going to quickly trim off the back as well while I'm at it. Get in there and get that corner as well. Brilliant. So, just tucking it over. Again, no big rush. Again, I blitzed through that other side because I was in a rush. And you will end up working that fast with your lamb. It just takes a little bit of time and experience. So I'm not worried about that piece, because when we put a big piece over it in a moment, it will cover it up. And the last piece which we've got is that we want to put a piece over the top of here, and which you cannot see. There we go. We want to put a piece on the top of here. Obviously too long, and that's okay. So I'm just going to stick that in there, and you can build up the laminate, that's alright. That's generally what happens. And again, get the iron in there, make sure the crease is good. Get right around that top piece. Oh, it's really going to stick in there now. Brilliant. Just get the knife out. Cut on that back edge. Like so. I'm going to tidy up this seam as well. There, we need to cut there. We need to cut there, and then because we have got a ridge going over the side, just putting lots of little cuts in there. It allows the laminate to bend around the join or around the curved edge, and there we go. Bend that right there. Bend that right there. That's come out really well. Quite impressed with that. There is a little bit of odyssey over there, but that'll tidy up. Happy days. Right, there's the awkward piece done. Like I said, we only got one awkward piece on the wing, and that was it. The rest of it's all straightforwards. So the top is almost exactly the same as the bottom. We go through exactly the same process. However, there are some slight differences. The differences are, instead of we do, like on the leading edge, we do wrap it round an extra inch because we want the double skin on the leading edge, but the rear edge, we don't wrap that round all the way round to the opposite side. You can do if you find that easier. What I do with mine is wrap it round and then trim it on this very bottom edge of the wing. Okay, but like I said, you can wrap it all the way around if you just find it easier. For me, I'll wrap it round and then put the cut on the back. When it comes to compartments like these front bays, just laminate over the top of it. Don't hold back, get the lam down. Okay, and then what I do is just basically do a cross in the middle, cut out the section, and then just put the laminate, the iron in there and poke it around and lam the inside edges. Okay, really straightforward. Again, bays like this, same, just put a straight big cross in the middle, and then put the iron in there and poke it down, and it will stick. And again, laminate will stick to rough surfaces. And again, especially surfaces which have had some paint on them, it seems to help them stick. So, right, one thing which I am going to do is, because just a few moments ago we had a real rough edge, and this is the top of the model. Now, normally I'm not one for using straight edges, but this is the top of the model, and we will probably see this seam underneath the laminate. So I'm just going to hold this out straight-ish. There we go, nice straight edge. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that edge is the top of the model, and I want it to look good. Right, again, too much, overhanging over there, there's that, well, you can't see it, it's off the side, but you'll have to trust me, there is a straight edge over there, and I'm going to cut this too big. Again, I'm going to overhang by about 3-4 inches on the side. Remember, laminate is expensive to buy a roll, but per metre it's really cheap, so don't hold back on it, it's okay to cut it too big. Right, so again, I'm eyeing this up, I'm leading it over the front edge by about an inch, as long as it's uniform all the way along the leading edge. That's happy days. We've got it going over there, we've not got it hanging, we've got it hanging over all the edges, and that's enough chit chat. Let's get the iron on it and we'll go for it. Now wait till you see this red pop out of here. Look at that, that just looks amazeballs. Now we do have a servo in there, that can cause fun. What you can do, just put your knife on it. It allows, and again the servo needs to get through the film anyway, just put a cut on top of it, and then that allows the film to stretch in and around the actual servo control horn itself. Again, really daft one, it's probably too late if you're watching this and following along, because you definitely make sure all of your components are in, okay, before you do this. Now I'm just going to crank that heat up a bit more. That colour really is popping out now on here. Right, let's get around, like so. Yeah, that is good. Yeah, again, circular motion. always working towards an edge of some form to make sure we don't get any air bubbles. Remember, if you do get air bubbles, don't panic, don't cry about it. You can just stab it with a pin or a knife and just run the hot iron over the top, and it will sort itself out. The same for creases, don't panic. Worst case is you can heat it up, peel it up, cut the slit, and then get the crease out of it. And I can assure you some of my models have got quite a few creases in them, but let's not tell anybody because nobody's ever noticed. And again, remember, nobody will notice what the model really looks like close up from 3 foot away, and that's always my personal marker. It's what the model looks like 3 foot away or a metre away from you. If it looks good at a metre away, that's good enough for me. I suspect that's probably good enough for you. And again, that's coming from somebody who is artistically challenged, I think is probably the best word. I'm not really into graphic design. I'm not really into video editing, ain't creative like that. I just get on with it, and I just have fun. I'm sure I'm the same as you two. In many ways, we just have fun with what we do. Right, so we are just working our way over to these centre hatches. Let me just zoom in, so make sure you're not missing anything. There we go. Just holding the film down. You can see my fingers here on the left. Holding the film down. There we go. Making sure that we get a real nice weld of the glue to the model itself, pulling down tight around there. Okay, now we're getting into a bit of an issue back here, okay, which is the film. We've got to go over the top of that, so I'm just running the knife up there on an angle, and then we're going to get that in right in there like so. Brilliant. Okay, got the same issue on this side. I'm just going to do that into a V, and then I'm going to straighten that edge off, which may or may not have just come out on the camera for you. There we go. And we're going to get this piece around. And again, that's why I did a straight edge on here, so that it does kind of look seamless as possible. And by the way, if you're wondering Matt, where's your VTX wires, there's actually a hole which goes underneath here, which I used a blowtorch and a screwdriver, just heated up the screwdriver with the blowtorch, and then it works all its way underneath, and I'm just trying to get that edge down really well. That is one edge which I will get to the close to the edge on, and the reason I'm getting close to the edge is because you might see it from when we put the second layer down. So that is one edge which I have broken my own rule on and got a little bit too close with. Fantastic, we're making excellent progress here. And again, remember, this video is designed for those like me, which was not only a short time ago, complete noobs when it comes to laminating. So I really do hope you're finding this video helpful. Now we're on to this centre section here. Now remember I said about doing crisscrosses. Let me zoom in and I'll show you exactly what I do so it makes complete sense. Okay, what I'm going to do is come in like that, and then I've got a little triangle over here, and I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Now we've got an oddity bit there, so I want to bend that round as well, and I'm just going to do that piece there. Now this is a bit awkward because otherwise we're going to end up with too much film in the middle, which to be honest don't make a lot of difference, but I've only just cut out that piece in the middle so we can now just bend it in. And again, nobody's ever going to see underneath the bottom of here. What we're more interested in is what are the edges like. So I've just noticed I can't bend that round, so I've just got the knife in there and just cut it. And you will work out that where you need to cut very, very quickly, because you're going to put the iron on it and it just won't go down, or it won't stick, or it won't bend over, should I say, and then you'll realise that you need to put a couple of cuts in it. So there we go. Not hard, not scary, and I've just noticed I need to do that edge there. And I also need to trim up either side of the motor mount as well. So I've just got enough, just slight scoring it with the knife very gently, because I don't want to go into the bottom layers. I'm just trying to do the top layer or two. Right, that's in there and done. Do that side as well. Perfect, that's come out really nice. Right, onto the centre hole. So in to here. We're making like the back end of a letter. That's the best way of explaining it. So we're coming in, and I haven't gone all the way across to the middle, like so. So you'll see I've got two triangles either side, and then we're going to join the triangles up Job's a good one. That was me doing thumbs up, by the way. And then we'll just bend these over and stick them into the side. So I'm going to have to mind the wires out of the way. Again, nobody cares about the inside, so we'll just, all we're after is nice clean edges. Like so. And get that one in there. Brilliant. Job's a good one. Same for the battery bay. Once again, we're going to make an envelope. Triangle on the side, triangle on the side. Yeah, it's on the back end of an envelope. There we go. Get that piece in. Again, I'm more interested in this edge here because that is what everybody's going to see and what I'm going to see every time I go to fly this model. And also because I'm not really paying much attention to what I'm sticking this to. I'm pretty sure I've picked, well, I know that I've been to pick some paint up on the end. So I will go and rub this in my jeans leg. Okay, obviously go carefully. If you've got shorts on, don't do it. Or if you've got a bit of spare rag, wipe it off. I've just got some camo trousers on, which I don't really care about. I can wipe the glue off in them. Brilliant. Right, let's get around to this nose section. Quick cut in there. Again, I'll tidy this up later. Right, let's get that cut out. Like so. Tell you what, I am just going to get in there with a craft knife. I think, no, you can't see what I'm doing, apologies. There we go, let me zoom out. Just getting here on this edge, overcutting it. Maybe 1/8 of an inch on the sides and about 1/4 of an inch on the back to make sure it sticks down to that PLA. Now I need to go a bit careful with the PLA. It would even be an issue with ABS to a degree because it is a thermoplastic. It means it will remelt, which is not ideal, but hey ho. Right, leading edge, same as the last time. All we're going to do is work around and slowly bend the film over the front leading edge. There we go, we're getting right up now, we're almost right on the opposite side. Blow the scraps off the desk. Let's zoom out a bit. Wrong way. One day I'll get used to that camera zoom. Right, and just bending. Come on you. Right, this is going to take it's trying to crease on me, and I've got the wing up underneath my arm, which you can't see on here, but I've got it right up underneath my arm to hold it still, and I'm just, this bit here has been a right toe rag, and I'm just going to do that first bit by hand. Right, we'll forcibly get it over. And yeah, I think this one's going to be a little bit of a toad. Sometimes they're like this. It's just the way it is. Again, I'm just using my fingers to pull tension on the seam. And if you're struggling with yours, just put a slit halfway down and you just do it in sections. It will have exactly the same final result, and it will just make it easier for you. For mine, I'm just working all the way down that edge. There we go, and I know that it's got a really good stick on the front leading edge because we just did it a few moments ago. We've worked our way all the way up to the wingtip, and I'm going to clean up this nose area. We've got a bit of overlap here. I'm just going to get that stuck down. Right, I am just going to tidy that piece up. Okay, now this camera mount on the very nose is that I'm just sticking the laminate down to it, and I know that when I put this on full heat and leave it on the side for 5 minutes when it gets super hot, is that when I come back here it will actually melt into the plastic. It's a bit naughty, I know, but it will melt into the plastic, so that's something which I'll do afterwards. Right, onto the back, other side of the wing. Just hit the camera, apologies. Right, let's clean up this edge, zoom in a touch. Right. Again, about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch away from the edge. We've also got this corner to be concerned about, so I'm just going to quickly cut that off. We do have much more of a pronounced bend on here, so this is where I'm just going to trim up that front edge piece there, like so. And this is where I'm going to put in lots of cuts, maybe about 1 inch apart, 3/4 of an inch apart, just to help the laminate bend over the awkward pieces. And again, the more of the angle which you've got, the more cuts you'll need to put in to help the laminate bend over. So let me zoom right in. Wrong way. Like I said, I'll get used to this zoom thing sooner or later. Right, there we go. So I'm just going to do that end piece first, carrying on from doing the bottom first. Now I need to get this piece to stick up round. There we go. Again, working from the back of the wing and moving forwards. Oh, pants, you're not seeing it. There we go. Working from the back. I'm going to have to zoom out. Hey, you got it right that time. Happy days. Right, working for the back of the wing, moving forwards. Those little teeth pieces are just bending over. We come around to the very front. That's stuck in really well. Do with that edge. Now a bit did get wrapped around on top, that's okay. Like so. Outstanding. Right, that now leaves us with the last pieces over here to do. So same as before, cut in the corner, come out. Now whereas before we got the iron out and we just wrapped it up around the top, what I'm going to do in this instance is that, I'll just show you on the camera, I hope this is going to come out for you. Again, just making sure this edge is good. I'm going to bend it round, but this time I'm not going to wrap it round. Okay, what I am going to do is going to cut it right up against the edge of the seam. Again, I'm doing my best here trying to hold the wing underneath my arm and show you on the camera, is that I am just going to cut along that edge. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want any dirt to get in that seam. Okay, so we want the cut on this side, so any dirt coming up underneath them there is not going to catch on that edge. So I'll tell you what, we'll do that one there while we're at it. So bend that over, like so. Get in there, hope this is coming out. Get the knife in there on an angle and just cut that edge off, so we now have got a seam on, flawless seam on there. I've just noticed we've got an extra bit hanging off here on the back. I'm going to quickly just tidy that up. And then for the last piece, now I will wrap up in just a few moments time. The last piece which we've got is literally this rear edge. Now I'm not going to trim it off, it might be easier to work with it if we trimmed it off, but it's really straightforward. Just holding the wing underneath my arm for maximum control. I'm only interested in sticking it down on this rear edge, like so, all the way along. And then I'm going to get the craft knife, just poke it in on the seam, run it all the way along, like so. There we go, so we've got that cut all the way along. And I'm just going to run it out the opposite side, and I'll tidy up that end in a moment. I'm going to get the heat iron, hobby iron on the top, make sure that seam really is done up. And again, I did have a special bit on the end of this corner which we spoke about earlier. I knocked it off. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that at the moment. But like I said, I might just fill it with glue, inject some glue in that corner, and then we get some rigidity back in there. So I'm going to stop there because the other side is exactly the same as what we've just been uncovered. I'll just make it too big, we'll stick it down, and that's it. And I will go over this centre section twice, okay, just like we did on the bottom. This bottom piece has been laminated twice, and again I will do the same on the top. Again, that edge cut which we've got over here, you may want to cut the piece out too long, then line up the ruler on there, or get a biro and just mark 2 lines either side, and then you end up with a straight line, or maybe on a slight angle like that, so not completely straight, maybe on an angle like that. Just remember, paranoid about dirt getting in the cuts, is get that straight on line there so you get seamless seam, if that makes sense, just like we had on this side. And that's laminating. Now I am going to pause to quickly recap what we've been uncovered. Laminating. It is super easy. Did you see how fast I went on that other side of the wing? And I was still chatting to you and I was going, crank the heat up really hot, and off we went. Oh, but a big thing to note is that after I've done the other side and after you've done the other side, crank your iron up to hot, again, assuming that you're working with EPP, okay? And then slowly work your way round, and it will then pull the material, the laminate, tight across the rest of your model. That's the last thing which I will do after doing the other side of the wing. So coming back to my point, laminating, it's just like ironing a shirt. You just work your way around. You remember, you work your way around all the buttons, you lift the collar up, you do one side of the collar, you do the other side of the collar, you do the inside, and so on and so forth. There's a few awkward bits, and you just work it around the platform. Remember, there was a point when I got stuck and I got that cushion off the sofa and used the cushion to hold it on an angle so I could show you on the camera. So you do use third-party supports. Laminating has made this wing tougher, it's made it waterproof, it's made it more rigid, it's made the colour pop. You can't see, it's not very good colouring on here, but you'll have to take my word for it. This red on this side really pops. This is a matte, satinish look. This is bright and vibrant. It's a night and day difference in colour. It really does make colour pop on your model. Do go careful, big tip here, don't go and touch your iron on your paint because it will pull the paint off your model and you end up with an apprentice mark on there. I'm not that bothered about it, to be honest, because no more than 3 foot away, nobody will notice, and only me and you and however many thousand people on YouTube will know that there's a little apprentice mark down there, you know. But take it a metre away, 3 foot away, nobody will know. It will make it waterproof. It will make it cowpat proof. That's a biggie for me. We got winter season coming up. We will lay in cow fields and poo and wet and mud. Does mean the model is just wiped clean, in short. It seals the paint in, seals the colour in, and yeah, you don't need much. You need a sharp knife. At no point in time did I struggle with a blunt blade or trying to find a blade. I had everything which I needed ready. A sharp blade. I did need a ruler, so a metal ruler or a plastic ruler is on hand. Craft a little hobby iron, really straightforward. Again, they're super cheap. And laminate as well. You saw the size of that roll. 75 metres worth on there for best part of 20 quid or however much it was. Like I said, it's 75 mil or 75 micron or 3 mil. It's really quite thin, okay? Don't go for any thicker than that because you will struggle. I've had some super thick stuff here and it's been an absolute biatch to work with, and frankly I won't ever use it again. It was terrible stuff, very tough, but just ludicrous to work with. I've had the iron on like full pelt. I've even had the heat gun on it as well, trying to get it to stick. Nightmare stuff. So 75 micron, 3 mil laminate. It's meant for like docket pouches, like on menus that you get in a restaurant. That's the stuff which you're after. You can pick it up on eBay and Amazon. The last lot I think I bought off Amazon. Like I said, I'll put some links in the video description for you. And the real major warning really is around temperature, which we're working here with. Go careful of the iron. These things get bastard hot and they really hurt and they will burn you. Okay, go careful of those. The same for the knife as well. And the other thing around temperature too is that too much heat on an EPO model, that white foam model, will bubble the foam. You don't want to do that. If you're looking for a model to start on, is maybe pick a model which you've scheduled land in it, you know, you've stuffed it in and it's the end of its life. Test it out on there, try it out on a bit of spare foam, you know, and yeah, always start on the bottom. I always start on the bottom. Other people say start on the top. For me, it's start on the bottom, get used to what you need to do on the bottom of the wing, the piece which nobody will ever see. Okay, get your apprentice cuts and stuff, and you're practicing out on the way on the bottom of a wing, so when it comes to the top, you're going to end up with a pucker job like that on the top. And then of course the only thing which you need to know about is really the servos. It's just wherever you've got a servo hole, put the laminate over the top, but get your craft knife and put the cut in there, and if the hole needs to be bigger, the servo will make its own hole in there. And then the other thing to look out for, the last thing, when you go over with the high heat at the end, again assuming it's EPP, look out for that. Can you see that here that the glue hasn't melted and we've got a murky misty colour? That's telling you need to get in there with the iron, okay? And again, we're not expecting it to be fully stuck to the actual wing itself, okay? But we're not looking for any murky pieces around the edges, okay? And there we go. And also, technically on that top of that servo, it's gone a bit murky again. Higher heat on there. Again, that's blurring out the camera. That will get rid of those murky pieces on there. So, that's it. That's how you laminate a wing. Well, 3/4 of a wing. Remember, the last thing which I've now got to do is that I'm going to laminate that side, and then I'm going to go over with full heat on the iron, and then just make sure everything's really, really stuck down, and it goes. And again, once you put lots of heat in this laminate, it will clip super tight as well. Again, extra rigidity. Time for me to go. I want to say a massive thank you to you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions about the laminating process, please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. This video was never intended to be a quickie at all. I wanted to keep this as real life as possible. that's the way which I learn, by seeing other people do. And again, if you've seen me working with this, you saw me taking it really steady with the first piece which we put down, but that second piece, I was on full heat, I was in normal matte laminating mode. You will get to that speed once you've had a little bit of experience. The only thing different between me and you is experience. I probably laminated more models than what you have. That's all it is, okay? And you've got to start somewhere. I started somewhere. Remember, I only started in this hobby about 15 months ago. That's it, literally July last year, that's when I started in this hobby. So I'm still very, very new to this stuff, and I'm finding it super easy. And the reason why I'm finding it super easy, because I've done quite a few of these wings now. And if you've seen my flying, you know that they need every little help which they need, because we hit trees on a frequent basis. So on that note, it's time for me to go. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. If this is your first time here, don't forget to press subscribe. The red button is underneath this video, underneath where it says Matthew Ogborn. I'm Matt, by the way. Howdy. And do me a favour, press the thumbs up if you've enjoyed this. Time for me to go. Cheerios.